Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, we're diving into another disturbing case that highlights the dark side of human nature. Manipulation is a sophisticated psychological technique that allows individuals to achieve their personal goals without considering the well-being of others. Skilled manipulators can keep people close to them for years, using various tactics to control and influence their partners. In intimate relationships, such manipulation often makes the other party doubt their decisions, feel guilty, and suffer from significantly lowered self-esteem. These relationships typically start out perfectly, as manipulators know how to charm and gain trust. They appear caring, empathetic, and understanding, creating an environment where one feels safe sharing their joys and sorrows. However, over time, they probe for weaknesses and begin to exploit them. One powerful example of manipulating people on an interpersonal level is the story of Nicole Lene. The story of Nicole is a depressing reminder of just how skillfully a man can manipulate the emotions of the women who admire him. He kept a sweetheart from leaving him for years, tricking her into thinking she could not survive without him. He also persuaded another girlfriend that breaking the law to save a child was ethically justified. Even with his meticulous preparation, he was eventually captured on camera and was unable to evade accountability. On July 11, 1989, Nicole, sometimes known as Nikki, was born in a small hamlet in northern Minnesota, USA. Public sources don't provide much information about her parents or early years. Some sources state that her mother raised her daughter alone after her father abandoned the family when she was very young, working hard to make sure she had all she needed, including a top-notch education. Nikki was a standout student who performed really well in school. From an early age, she also participated extensively in athletics, especially track and field and martial arts. Nikki made the decision to commit her life to fighting crime and working in law enforcement during her final year of high school. She put a lot of effort into passing the appropriate tests and meeting the physical requirements needed to be admitted to the police academy, and she eventually graduated with honors. Nicole left her little rural area and relocated to the big metropolis of Minneapolis after completing her education and getting accepted into the academy. She was hired as an assistant investigator in the Criminal Investigation Division of the Minneapolis Main Police Headquarters in 2010. After a few years of service, she was assigned as an investigator due to her hard work and devotion. She was characterized by coworkers as a fearless officer, willing to take chances, and as a driven, goal-oriented individual. Nicole, then 23 years old, met Timothy Amahara, a coach and martial arts expert, who was 8 years her senior in 2012, at a Taekwondo tournament. She didn't think much of him at first, but he was enthralled with the young, attractive girl with the long, opulent hair and the endearing grin. With a reputation as a ladies' man and a large number of romantic partners, Timothy was adept at seducing women and was unaccustomed to being turned down. He tracked down Nikki's training location immediately and got her number. He first proposed to her as a personal trainer, but he also started wooing her right away and won her over. Tim was a nice, honest, and caring man in Nicole's opinion. She began to feel real affection for him and quickly became utterly enamored. When they first started dating, Tim conducted himself honorably, displaying concern and doing his best to prove that he could be relied upon. Timothy had the ability to control the ladies who fell in love with him because he was a powerful, wise, and articulate man. Their romance quickly developed, and a month and a half later, they made the decision to move in together. Nicole had a great first 6 months of feeling content and cherished. She let him in and trusted him implicitly, thinking they were a couple with no secrets. But Timothy started acting differently over time. It took him some time to disclose his actual nature, so subtle that Nicole was not frightened. Timothy was a charming, funny, and beautiful man who took great delight in his success with people of the other gender. He continued to flirt with other women even after they got serious, frequently doing so in front of Nicole, which embarrassed and upset her a great deal. She thought that after a while he would get over his bachelor ways and get married, but months went by and nothing happened. Timothy assured Nicole that he loved only her and was passionate and tender as a partner. However, outside the home, he continued to flirt and engage in affairs. He soon became openly annoyed by Nicole's jealousy, snapping at her and stating that he would behave as he wanted and that she had no right to tell him otherwise. However, he usually apologized afterward, telling Nikki that no one would ever love her as much as he did, and she forgave him, continuing to make future plans with him. During a small home dispute in the fall of 2014, Timothy became incredibly enraged. Nicole was nearly unconscious as he took hold of her throat and gripped it so hard that she was unable to breathe. He snapped to reality, released her go, and shoved her so hard she ran into a wall. She knew then and there that this was a bad relationship that had to end right now. But she was too attached to Timothy emotionally, and she could forgive him with just one more apology from him. In addition to his aggression and infidelity, another extremely unpleasant trait of Tim's came to light. He was extremely jealous and obsessed with control. He monitored every step Nicole took, checked her phone without permission, scrutinized her contact lists, messages, and social media, and kept a close eye on who she talked to and where she was. This continued for several years. Timothy could cause a scandal out of nowhere, unjustly accusing Nicole of infidelity, while he himself did not miss any opportunity to be unfaithful. He often resorted to physical violence, but continued to convince Nicole that no one would ever love her as he did. If she ever attempted to leave him, he resorted to blackmail, claiming he would end his life, and it would be on her conscience. Following yet another violent dispute in November 2015, Nikki packed her bags and headed out of the house with her suitcase. Timothy pursued her outside, grabbed her by the hair, and brought her back inside because, up until that point, he had not given up on the idea that she would truly go. But Nicole started to cry and struggle, drawing the neighbors' notice, so Timothy had to set her free. After so many years in an abusive and manipulative relationship, Nicole could finally breathe a sigh of relief. However, Timothy had no intention of leaving her alone. He merely switched tactics, moving from threats and blackmail back to romantic pursuits. He met her after work, sent flowers to her home via courier, wrote messages filled with tenderness, and pleaded for a chance to start over. For over a month, Nikki was resolute and had no plans to return to her former lover. However, in December of that same year, she unexpectedly discovered that she was pregnant. This was certainly not in her plans, but the thought of not keeping the baby never crossed her mind. She knew that if her ex-boyfriend found out about her pregnancy, it would provide him with perfect leverage for manipulation in an attempt to win her back. So, she tried to hide her pregnancy, but was unsuccessful. They still shared many mutual friends and acquaintances, so by January 2016, information about her expecting a child reached Timothy. There was no doubt about who the father was, prompting him to urge her to return to him, arguing that their child should be raised in a complete family. Nicole knew that life with a manipulative and vicious person would not end well, having grown up without a father herself. But she also saw how difficult it would be for her and the kid. Even though she still had feelings for her ex-boyfriend, she vehemently refused to go back to him. She said she would let him be a part of their child's life and development. On June 20th, 2016, Nicole gave birth to a healthy boy whom she named Callahan. Timothy acknowledged paternity and declared his readiness to raise the child with her. However, it soon became clear that giving the baby this man's surname and registering him as the parent was far from the best idea. Despite Tim's assurances that he would be a good father and his pleas to reunite so that Callahan could grow up in a complete family, in reality, he showed no interest in his son. Timothy had hoped that the child would become a reliable tool for manipulating his ex-girlfriend, but Nicole was no longer susceptible, and Tim quickly lost interest in the baby. Nicole dedicated herself fully to raising her young kid throughout her almost one-year maternity leave. She had given motherhood her whole attention and hadn't even considered dating new people. Timothy, meantime, carried on living a carefree life with several partners and unofficial acquaintances. He eventually had a signal in the form of a purple light in his bedroom. It indicated that the homeowner was looking for company and was not alone. Tim would send out a signal to any of his loves to come to visit. Once someone responded, the purple light would go out, alerting others that Tim was already in bed. Though it looked like something from a red light district, this arrangement seemed to satisfy the man and his many companions. As Colin settled into Timothy's home, she quickly took on a dual role. She was not just his lover, but also became a nanny to Callahan. Despite Timothy's initial assurances that he wanted to be involved in his son's life, it became evident that he was more interested in maintaining his carefree lifestyle. Colin, still young and inexperienced, found herself deeply entangled in Timothy's manipulative web. She adored him and believed that by caring for Callahan, she was solidifying her place in his life. As time passed, Timothy's behavior grew increasingly erratic and violent. He continued to manipulate Colin much like he had manipulated Nicole, making her believe that she was essential to his life, while simultaneously engaging with other women. Colin, blinded by her affection for him and perhaps intimidated by his domineering presence, endured his controlling nature and outbursts. For the benefit of their son, Nicole made an effort to keep her and Timothy at bay in the interim. She wanted Callahan to have a father role in his life, but she wasn't deluded by his behavior. But she also knew how dangerous Timothy could be and how easily he could manipulate others. Her son's welfare was her first priority, and she made every effort to keep him away from Timothy's influence. As Timothy's influence over Colin deepened, he began to draw her into darker schemes. He convinced her that their relationship and future depended on overcoming various obstacles together. This manipulation culminated in a plan that would bring devastating consequences. Timothy made up a narrative in the summer of 2017 about a previous partner who was supposedly abusing a child. Playing on Colin's feelings and sense of justice, he depicted the child's misery in graphic detail. He tricked her into thinking that taking immediate action was required to save the child. Colin consented to take part in the scheme because she wanted to please Timothy and did what she believed was proper. On a fateful night, Colin and Timothy executed their plan. They broke into the home of the supposed perpetrator, intent on rescuing the child and exacting retribution. However, the situation quickly spiraled out of control. The confrontation turned violent, and the supposed perpetrator was severely injured. They managed to flee the scene, but their actions were caught on several surveillance cameras. The police quickly identified Timothy and Colin as suspects. The footage showed a clear picture of their involvement, leaving little room for doubt. The case gained significant media attention, and the public was appalled by the brutality of the crime. Timothy, ever the manipulator, initially tried to shift all the blame onto Colin, portraying her as an unstable young woman who acted on her own. Nicole was devastated to hear the news. She was worried about Timothy's activities and what they would mean for her son's future. She gave the authorities her all cooperation and gave them information on Timothy's abusive and manipulative habits. Her testimony was extremely important to the inquiry, as was the copious amount of evidence found in the CCTV film. Colin, under immense pressure and facing serious charges, eventually broke down. She confessed to her involvement in the crime, but also detailed how Timothy had manipulated her into participating. Her testimony painted a clear picture of Timothy's coercive tactics and his role as the mastermind behind the crime. Ultimately, Timothy was convicted on several counts, including coercion and assault. In order to guarantee that he would no longer pose a threat to Nicole, Callahan, or Colin, he was given a hefty prison sentence. Colin was given a more moderate punishment, but was also required to undergo significant psychological counseling, perhaps due to her young age and the depth of Timothy's influence. Nicole, relieved that Timothy could no longer harm anyone, focused on rebuilding her life and providing a stable environment for Callahan. She returned to her work in law enforcement, determined to use her experiences to help others who might be in similar situations. Her resilience and courage became a source of inspiration for her colleagues and the community. The case of Nicole Linné serves as a stark reminder of the destructive power of manipulation and the importance of recognizing and escaping toxic relationships. It underscores the need for awareness and education about psychological abuse and manipulation. For Nicole, the ordeal was a painful chapter in her life, but it also became a catalyst for personal growth and a renewed sense of purpose. It's critical to get help if you or someone you love is involved in an abusive or controlling relationship. Resources that can offer the required assistance and direction include hotlines, support groups, and counseling services. Recall that the first step to taking back control of your life and well-being is identifying the telltale indications of manipulation and acting upon them. Nicole Linné's life story is proof of the human spirit's tenacity. Nicole came out stronger and more motivated to have a positive influence, even if Timothy's deceptive activities cost her a great deal of anguish and suffering. Her experience serves as a reminder of the value of awareness, encouragement, and the guts to confront abuse and deception. In closing, let's remember that we all have a role to play in supporting those who may be suffering in silence. By fostering a culture of awareness and compassion, we can help prevent similar tragedies and ensure that everyone has the opportunity to live a life free from manipulation and abuse. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and always be ready to lend a helping hand to those in need.